So this story is absolutely psycho and goes hand in hand with the other story that I covered a while ago about how the Justice Department reached some settlement with the family of Ashli Babbitt, and they literally paid them like $5 million or some nonsense like that. Well, Ashli Babbitt offered full military funeral, Air Force confirms. The Air Force has offered full military funeral honors to Ashli Babbitt, the rioter who was fatally shot by police as she stormed the U.S. Capitol during the January 6th riot 4 years ago, officials said on Thursday. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who's like always trying to compare Trump to Hitler or something, right? I think it can be a little lazy. Now, a lot of the comparisons as of late, I think, are very legitimate, right? Some of the parallels between the kind of rhetoric that Trump espouses and the actions that he's taking are eerily similar to a lot of the power grabby moves that Hitler made as the head of the Nazi Party. But this example is just too juicy. The comparison, the parallels between this are just too strong for me to not mention, okay? In 1923, before World War II ever happened, in between World War I and World War II, when Hitler was sort of like rising to power, he led a literal coup on the Bavarian government in 1923, right? It was called the Beer Hall Putsch. Putsch is the German word for coup, okay? I think it kind of like whitewashes the whole thing, the idea. But he literally tried to coup the Bavarian government in 1923. And it ultimately failed, but years later, he gained power, and after he did, he memorialized the 8 people, or however many people, I think it was something like 8, that died in this literal coup attempt. He memorialized them in these like special like tombs. He gave them military honors. He gave them, he treated them as like martyrs of the state, martyrs of the cause, right? And I just can't help but see the parallels between that and what Trump is doing here with offering Ashli Babbitt military funeral honors, right? That is some actually straight up psycho shit, right? That is full on psycho shit, right? She literally participated in a riot that under any other possible circumstances, the people that defend her would call it a coup, okay? She effectively participated in a coup of the U.S. government in favor of Donald Trump, and now he is offering her military funeral honors, right? Exactly the same as Hitler did to the martyrs of the Beer Hall Putsch like 15 years before World War II started, right? He made a whole like memorial of them in downtown Berlin, and it was like I'm pretty sure you like were required by law to like salute them as you went by and stuff like that. Like the parallels between that and this is just too strong to not mention, okay? I'm normally not the one to be like Trump Hitler, look at this, blah blah blah. But this is too brazen. This is too symbolic. Babbitt, 35, was an Air Force veteran who went to Washington to protest Donald Trump's defeat in the 2020 election, her family has said, and was among the rioters seeking to break into the House chamber. And as Babbitt tried to climb through a broken window of a barricaded door leading to the Speaker's lobby, U.S. Capitol Police Lieutenant Michael Byrd fired one shot, killing her. So I've seen the video of this shooting, okay? There's actually a pretty like explicitly detailed video. It's got a great angle on it, so you see exactly what's happening. And what ends up happening, right, is I watched the January 6th committee, or at least part of it, where they were talking about the path that the Congress people had to take down into the bunker below the Senate and whatnot. And they mentioned in great detail how in this sort of labyrinth of hallways and stairwells and whatnot that makes up the Capitol, they had certain what they called like hard points, right? These were sort of corridors, intersections, specific doorways and staircases and whatnot that absolutely under all like had to be secured and that the rioters could not be allowed to get access to, because if they eventually got access to those specific spots, then they could ultimately overwhelm the security of the Capitol and make their way down to wherever the Congress people are. And so my understanding was this was one of those hard points, right? The Capitol Police had literally barricaded the door with a whole bunch of chairs and desks and stuff, so it was practically impossible to push the door open. The only way that somebody could get through the window, through this doorway, was to break the window and climb through over the piles of of chairs and desks that had been like piled up against the other side of the door. Well, as you literally see this Capitol Police guy, weapon trained, like already ready to go on this window of this door. Okay, it's a door with like a window in the middle, and with all the stuff separating him and this door. And then Ashli Babbitt just starts, after the window is broken, just starts climbing through it. Okay, now like I'm not, obviously somebody dying and getting shot by the police, is very wrong. And I'm sure she legitimately believed in what she was doing. And she really thought she was doing the right thing and that the election was stolen and that she's being a martyr and she's doing the right thing, blah, blah, blah. But the idea that like she was wrongfully killed is just ridiculous. Okay, right? Like she literally physically breaking into the Capitol of the United States through a door and a window that has a guy with a gun trained on it already, right? She sees that. If you see the video, there's no way on earth that she does not see the guy with the gun 3 feet on the other side of this door aiming at it. Okay, so when she starts climbing through, I actually don't really blame the officer from shooting, because if she gets through, right, what are they just gonna like let her through but then not anybody else, right? These people are like sheep. Okay, one person goes through, the rest of them are gonna start coming through as well. And if you let one of them through, how can you single out this one but then start like not letting others through? Like it would be a really big problem. So they have to be firm right there on that kind of hard point and say, this, we can't let anybody through. And so, I mean, look, that's all it took, right? They shot her once, and then everybody backed up and was like, whoa, 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 like, I'm not going to. So, like, the idea that you would treat her as anything but like a somebody who likely was not mentally stable, who was literally tricked by our own president of the United States into believing that the election was stolen and that she needs to do something about it. The idea that that person is giving military funeral is just absurd. And the idea that the killing was wrong is even more absurd, right? If you watch the video, if you watch the January 6th committee details about hard points and the paths that the rioters took and the Congress people had to take and whatnot, you would understand that, okay, this was actually a pretty legitimate killing. And honestly, surprising, very surprising that more of this didn't happen, that you didn't see more people doing exactly what Ashli Babbitt did and getting shot going through specific hard points or specific doorways and hallways and stairwells, right? I'm actually very shocked that there was only one example of this. Honestly, I bet this is like peak cynical, okay? So like fight me about it. But I wonder if Trump actually really wanted there to be more martyrs, right? I think it probably helps his cause a little bit more if it isn't just a one-off lady who got shot. If it was like 8 people and, I think he, more like the beer hall push, I think he would prefer that. Although Byrd was cleared of wrongdoing by the Justice Department and Capitol Police, Babbitt's death has remained a right-wing rallying cry that has cast her as a martyr. After reviewing the circumstances of SRA Babbitt's death, the Air Force has offered military funeral honors to SRA Babbitt's family, an Air Force spokesperson said. After reviewing the circumstances of her death, the Air Force has offered military funeral honors. So that literally means we understand how she got killed. We understand that we can fully understand the context at which this happened. Everything I just laid out. And we go, oh, but Daddy Trump loves this, right? He loves the whole martyr thing. He wants to encourage this sort of thing, right? He loves this. And so this wording is so bad, right? This wording means they know exactly what they're doing, right? After reviewing the circumstances of her death, right? They aren't even trying to make some sort of like plausibly deniable argument, right? But yeah, there's some like pseudo plausible deniable argument that you could maybe present for this, like, oh, all Air Force members do some sort of military funeral regardless of the circumstances in which they died, which I actually don't think is the case. That'd be sort of weird. But like you could make some sort of weird argument like that, and then maybe you'd have an ounce, a gram, a milligram of plausible deniability. But they're literally saying, after reviewing the circumstances of her death, they're saying, we know she martyred herself for a stupid cause. We know for a literally non-existent cause, but we're cool with that. In fact, we want to encourage that kind of thing, and we're going to give her military funeral. That's just insane. The conservative legal group Judicial Watch had long been pushing for Babbitt to receive full military funeral honors and pushed the narrative that she was a victim of government misconduct. Yeah, she was a victim of government misconduct, right? The government of Donald Trump literally and Rudy Giuliani and all these other cretins literally coming out and lying and to all their supporters and saying the election was stolen and we have proof when they had literally zero proof and all that proof was overturned in court. Yeah, she was a victim of government misconduct by the person that she was martyred herself by the person she was literally tricked by, Trump, not by like some rogue government agent that fired when he shouldn't have or whatever. Ashli Babbitt's patriotic and courageous service in the U.S. Air Force and Air National Guard also merits favorable action on this request, the group wrote in a post Wednesday announcing the Air Force's decision. Babbitt was a prolific social media user who embraced conspiracy theories. She believed in Pizzagate, a viral disinformation campaign that falsely alleged that a child abuse ring was being operated by Democrats from a Washington pizza restaurant, and embraced QAnon, the convoluted conspiracy movement baselessly claiming, among other things, that Trump was secretly fighting an international cabal of criminals and pedophiles. See, like, this is the sort of thing that, like, it's easy, like, when I live in my own little bubble. You know, we all live in our own sort of pseudo bubbles, right? When I'm living in my own little bubble, right, I just have a hard time believing anybody actually is like this, right? I tend to start believing like, oh, haha, the person that believes this stuff, that engages in this sort of stuff, is a caricature. They're not real. I mean, maybe there's a few of them, but it's not a significant portion of the population or whatever. But like, if this kind of thing makes me, you know, totally cuts against that and makes me think, oh, actually, wait, this is scarily way more common than I give it credit for. Babbitt's estate filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the U.S. government in early 2024. Then, after Trump won the White House in November, his administration reached a $5 million deal to settle the civil complaint. Yeah, that's what I said. They literally just basically gave her family $5 million for basically no reason, right? There's absolutely zero legal justification for a wrongful death lawsuit, right? The idea that that a wrongful death lawsuit would ever win in a legitimate court is ridiculous, okay? That's why they settled outside of court and just gave her $5 million, right? They're sending a signal to everybody else that is willing to martyr themselves and do this sort of thing for the Trump administration, is that, look, we will pay you. We will give you military honors if you die. We will pay your family money. Yeah, this is just some psycho shit. And like, I just can't, like I said, I'm not I'm not that guy who's always trying to make some weird connection between Trump and Hitler. Okay, obviously Hitler was far, far, far worse than Trump. But there are some scary parallels between the way that Hitler acted and the way that Trump has been acting the second term, since 2024. And this is one of the ones that really stands out the most to me. Not so much practically, but symbolically, right? This is humongous symbolically. And the parallels between this and the beer hall putsch and the military honors and funerals and memorials that Hitler gave to the 8 people that died when they tried to coup the Bavarian government in 1923, right? The parallels are just too strong, okay?